Hello everyone, I'm Bottles and welcome to Releasing the Unreleased. Unreleased games have always fascinated me to my core. Not only do I find the concept of an abandoned project for a very popular franchise super interesting, but I also always think about how the franchise would have been affected if these games were to be released. We're going to take a break from looking at unreleased Sonic games this time, and in observance of our Zelda month, we will be looking at an unreleased Zelda game, the Sheik game, also known as Project X. The game itself is going to be a direct sequel to The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time in the Fallen Hero timeline. For those who don't know, Legend of Zelda's timeline splits three ways from Ocarina of Time. There's the past timeline, where Link goes back to the past and lives his childhood, which is where we get games like Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. There's the future timeline, where it continues on from adult Link defeating and sealing away Ganon at the end of Ocarina, which leads to games like Wind Waker and Spirit Tracks, and then the Fallen Hero timeline, which is if the game were to continue from Link dying in Ocarina of Time, which leads to games like The Link to the Past and the original NES Zelda. This game would have taken place between Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past. This game would have told the story of the last of the Sheikah people before they were unceremoniously wiped out. The developers of the game, when talking about this in an interview with Did You Know Gaming, could not stress enough that this was very un-Zelda-like in nature. From what they were describing, the gameplay loop of the game would have been this. You play as Sheik roaming around the overworld of Hyrule. When you encountered an enemy, it would go into battle mode, not unlike a JRPG. But instead of battling like a traditional JRPG, you would instead play a game of whack-a-mole. I'm not kidding. Not gonna lie, I was a bit baffled when I heard that. I was expecting a little bit more out of Retro Studios. That's right. I may have failed to explain this, but Retro Studios, the developers of the Metroid Prime series, was developing this game. This expectation, however, will play into why this game was cancelled. Bring down the background shutters, it's time to know! So I'm gonna tell a very, very abridged version of the full story here. Not because I'm lazy and I don't feel like putting in the work of explaining the whole story to you. What? I said that it wasn't the reason. No, the reason why I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version is because if I told the whole story, I feel like I'd just be copying and stepping on the feet of the amazing video and work that Did You Know Gaming put into researching and bringing a lot of details of this game to light. I implore you, after this video, if you are interested to know more about this game and the development hell it went through, watch their video, which I've put up in the iCard. So, development teams from Nintendo who were overseeing the project, as well as developers within Retro Studios, were very underwhelmed with the direction the game was going. The higher-ups at Retro assured them that it'd be fine and that they should stop worrying about it. The devs thought if they were making a Zelda game, they should make something more so along the lines of Shadow of the Colossus, not a game that would be on the same level of Link's crossbow training. Higher-ups were too stubborn, however, and pitched the idea to Nintendo. Of course, Nintendo turned it down, and the game was cancelled outright. This game actually would have changed Zelda canon a lot. We would have gotten a lot more context about the Sheikah and what wiped them out as to only have descendants like Impa left. Not only that, but this game was going to explain the creation of the Master Sword way before Skyward Sword would have done so. Who knows, maybe if this game come out, we wouldn't have the horrible nuisance that is Fi. Skyward Sword's story could have been way different if this game were to give flashbacks and context to the creation of the Master Sword. I find that super fascinating because Zelda stories always feel like they're so set in stone. So to hear that it could have been way different with just one game is really fascinating. That concludes this episode of Releasing the Unreleased. What did you guys think? Are there games that you want me to cover that have never come out? Put your suggestions in the comments below and let's learn about the wonderfully weird world of canceled games together. Next week, we will be finally concluding Zelda month with the review you've been waiting for. The review for Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. But if you're impatient, become a channel member to be able to watch the episode right now. Our social media are in the description below, as well as our merch store, and make sure to support the channel as much as you can. The more you support, the more I can eat. With that, I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.